But seriously, have you ever had anyone as old as me on your show?
Comment below.
I think you have, but I'm not sure.
I have. Okay, so you are 52.
I'm 52.
Maybe we should start with an intro. I like that better. And then we'll go into how old you are.
Do I have a dance or anything?
No. Hey, Kristyglass here. I finally wrangled in the Skein cocaine. Listen, comment below. How much money have you lost because of Skein cocaine?
Lost?
Like, I'm in bed, and then there it goes. There's an update, and then you just buy it. Okay, but Gina wants to first cover age, so. How old are you?
I'm 52.
And she wants to know, are you the oldest person?
Am I the oldest person you've ever had on this show?
You know, let me think.
I mean...
Cece is 52.
Is she really?
54.
She looks a lot younger than that. But she's wise, so...
She's
wise. You do have to be older to be wise, I think.
That's right. That's right. But comment below how old you are. I don't know. I usually don't ask people their age.
I mean, I'm not embarrassed. I mean, I've been alive. I'm alive. I have had friends that have died, and that's what we can talk about, like how I got here.
Well, do you want to start? Let's talk about your fiber story, and then we'll talk about the dead friends.
Well, no, let's just talk about dead friends.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And my hip hurts. Okay. So start from the beginning.
Yeah.
I learned to knit at 8.
52 years.
My grandmother taught me. My really traditional, lovely Italian grandmother, like classic grandmother, taught me to knit, and I've been doing it off and on, but it didn't like become the lifestyle knitter. Is that what you call it?
I call it
the lifestyle knitter. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sweating right now.
Are you nervous?
Well, I'm a little nervous.
Why? We're friends.
Right. I know, but anyway. I'm my own worst critic. We all are.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
We got the ring light.
Okay.
We got the microphone. We sound and look amazing.
We do.
Okay, but wait, so Italian grandma. So do a lot of Italian grandmas knit? Is that a thing?
I don't know, but mine did.
Okay.
And crocheted, and she did all that. But she was very loving, and I don't know, it just was all part of the Italian grandmother, like, loving.
She feeds you.
Yeah.
She teaches you.
Huga or whatever.
Yeah, Huga, yeah.
She's not Danish, obviously, but I'm burping, too.
But also I edit, so no worries.
Okay. Or leave it all in.
Leave it all in.
Don't edit.
Yeah, no edits.
Okay. So
8 years old, knitter.
I didn't do it a lot, but I did, and we're gonna come back to this, but I did love knitting with things that were really multicolored. Like, I loved it when every stitch was a different color. I always loved that. And the Red Heart had something that did that, I think. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I went through school knitting every so often. Didn't really finish anything, but knit corset scarves, that kind of thing.
Like school meaning college.
Yeah, and I studied psychology in college, clothing and textiles as a minor. And after I was done with college, I moved to Chicago and lived in Chicago for a while.
There?
I was there for 4 years.
Oh, what neighborhood?
Wrigleyville.
Me too.
Really?
What year were you in Wrigleyville?
Don't ask me that, because I don't remember anymore.
Okay.
But I was in my mid to late 20s, so that was a really long time ago.
Okay, so it was probably before me, yeah. Because I was in Wrigleyville.
Were you born then?
I was born then.
Born?
Yes, we're not that far apart.
Yes, we are.
You could be my sister.
I could.
Yeah.
Or your grandmother.
Not my mother or grandmother. My sister is what you could be.
Okay.
And I was in Wrigleyville in the late 90s.
Okay.
It was a great neighborhood. We can't afford it anymore.
No.
But back then. Yeah.
Back then it was like Lincoln Park, Gold Coast, you couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
Anyway.
So I worked for retail there and did stuff there on Michigan Avenue and Oak Street. And I loved Lori's shoes. Do you remember Lori's shoes?
Yes, I do remember.
Armitage. Not Armitage. Yeah, Armitage.
Yeah.
Halstead and Armitage. I just love that store, and I always had an affinity for shoes, and they did it for me, like, majorly. And so I decided I wanted to open a shoe store. And my dad called me one day, and he said, one of the prime locations in our shopping center, they own a shopping center.
Wait, hold on, Gina, we need to trade places because of your bangs.
Because it's ugly on that side.
No, it's just you can't see your face. So
You want me to be in focus?
Yeah.
No, I should be blurred. I should be.
No.
Can you get me through a Snapchat filter? Okay.
So your dad.
Okay. So he called me and he said, I keep like trying to figure out where to start this story because I spent basically since I was born working. I have never not worked. So my mother had clothing stores. I tagged, I steamed, I worked, I folded. My dad had all these companies. I did everything, answered phones, stuffed envelopes since I was one. I've never, I just noticed
It's a Snapchat filter.
I never not worked.
Yeah.
I've worked every single day of my life. And so he called, but that's not really related, but he called and he said, we have this space that's opened up. If you want to open a store, why don't you open it in the shopping center? And that way you're helping the family. You know, it's all about the family.
And
I'm
did
an
that
old child,
resonate with
also.
you? Did that, you're an only child?
Yeah, so they can always twist. The knife can always be twisted. So I felt like I didn't really want to leave. I wanted to stay and do it there, but I also was scared of failing, and I thought like there'd be less chance of failure if I didn't have to pay rent.
Yeah. Of course.
Right. Well, I don't know. And
Well, that's a very common mindset for being 20. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to fail.
Well, I was 30 at this point.
Okay.
Late 20s, early 30s.
Okay.
But that's still a common mindset.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So I went ahead and I did it, probably, against my better judgment. I went ahead and went back and started Soulmate, which was my shoe store. And I sold beautiful stuff, loved my store, and I guess it's year 10, maybe, year 10. And I'm knitting all along this whole time, because we want to talk about knitting, right? So
Yeah, but
kind of
also
like-
you're a businesswoman, and this is really interesting. So
That's
about all of it.
Yeah. And so, and I'm still helping my family. My dad was starting a skincare line, like all of this different stuff. My mother still had, she had closed all of her stores except for one big flagship store. So the shopping center was like a U shape, and I was on one side and she was on the other, clothing, and I was shoes. And it worked together. We worked. And after a while, not after a while, but at one point I get this phone call. Now we're getting into the dead friends.
Okay.
I get a call from my best friend, and he's like, I can't, I'm having a hard time with my peripheral vision. And so he went to the doctor and he found out that he had a brain tumor.
Wow.
And then he found out that he ultimately had lung cancer that was spouting off tumors.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets to your brain, it's
typically it's come from somewhere else,
Yeah.
because we have some kind of barrier that protects our brain
Yeah.
or something. But so he was about to embark on this intense sort of chemo journey, and I was like, I want to sell my store and I want to go to Richmond and be with him, because he was my very best friend in the world. You know how it is. You'll do anything for your very best friend. And I was now, let's see, I had been divorced a second time yet. I didn't even bring up the first marriage. There's no point. So I decided to sell my business to my manager, and I was going to open something in Richmond. And he unfortunately died before I got there.
Wow.
And I had signed a non-competition agreement with my manager that I wasn't going to, if something had happened and I was going to actually stay in the area, I could not sell anything that was related to clothing, shoes, jewelry, and that's all I knew.
Yeah.
So I was also noticing that there was something happening in the knitting world that was called the Scarf Craze was happening.
A Scarf Craze, okay.
So the Scarf Craze, are you familiar with this?
No.
Okay.
Educate.
Well, Scarf Craze was where everybody, I guess it was Sex in the City, so Carrie was knitting.
On the show?
Sarah Jessica Parker. I don't think she was knitting on the show, but they were all knitting offset.
Offset.
And it just started, all of a sudden, it became mainstream for this brief period of time. Like, I feel like knitting is sort of mainstream right now, but not really.
As much as before, this other moment you're
The
talking
Scarf Craze was a moment in time where everybody was knitting with novelty yarns. So fun fur, splash, like get your Crystal Palace splash, get a pair of size 15 straight needles and knit a scarf, 15 stitches on a 15, and everybody was doing it.
Yeah.
So I decided to go ahead, and there was a space open in the shopping center, and I didn't want to move to Richmond, didn't want to go there. I wanted to I wanted to stay where I was, and I wanted to open a yarn shop.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do.
And so, but you kind of skipped.
Did I skip anything? Well, I skipped years.
Let's just talk about the friend passing away. So that was part of the story, like why you sold the other business and opened another, but was part of that sort of healing process and grief, was that part of the decision to turn to knitting, you think?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But of course, I have to earn a living. I mean,
Right.
if it wasn't as popular as it was starting to be, I think I would have thought of something alternative. I would have knit more, but I don't think I would have turned it into a business.
Got
And
it.
all the reps were telling me, you are really like starting at a time where you're going to be really busy. Like, this is the best time you could have opened a store.
I see.
And that made me really happy. And the ironic thing, well, not ironic, I guess that's not the right word, but I was surprised at how many people in my circle that were concerned that I was doing it. They were like, you went from being cool to being incredibly uncool. Like, you're going from being in the fashion industry to being in grandma's world.
Wow.
Like, why would you do that? And to me, it was the most natural.
Next step.
Well, I mean, it's textile,
Yeah.
it's design, it's so cool, and I think it's cool.
Yeah. So you got a lot of pushback from friends.
I did. Like,
That's
they were very
interesting.
concerned.
And when you
My
listened
second husband was very concerned.
and when you listened to that, what did you
I said what I just said to you just now. Yeah. I said, no, it is cool. But then, so I opened, it was extremely successful. It was fast. I mean, there were like 30 customers in the store at a time. Anybody that was open, had a yarn store at that time, knows what I'm talking about. It was crazy. Yeah. Boxes of Splash or Eyelash, in every color. I organized my store by color.
Yeah.
Which
awesome.
is pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's hell on wheels.
It's hard to navigate, but I bet it looked pretty.
But I mean, all the different ladder yarns and it was all together. It was just so gorgeous. And then just like that, maybe a couple years later, the light switch went off and nobody could sell that stuff anymore.
Yeah. It was just over.
It was over. It really was like a light switch.
Yeah.
It was just like nobody wanted it. And,
That's so interesting.
and so we all kind of morphed into, there was a period of time before, after the Scarf Craze and before Ravelry.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
That was a weird period. It was a weird period.
It's kind of when blogging was starting. But
yeah, everybody had knitting blogs. That's how you found what you wanted to knit. Knitting blogs and shops.
Yeah.
So that was weird.
And so did you ride that? Did you survive through that period?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and then how did Ravelry change it?
Because I just sold my store last September. So I wrote.
Right. So this is the same store.
Same store.
Okay.
So
how did Ravelry change it?
So Ravelry, what it did was it took away. The customer was much more savvy about what they wanted.
They would walk in,
and they already know what they wanted.
Yeah.
And they knew what they wanted to knit it out of. And so it wasn't as, we were much more just sort of at the whim of what was happening in Ravelry. Like the indie dyers, I had to get Hedgehog right away. It just was the customer was there weren't so many. And then of course the paper patterns were starting to disappear because people were buying them on and printing them out. And it just was I feel like it was better for the yarn shop, ultimately. But at the same time, you had to really be on top of it.
Yeah, I think that the yarn shop owner has to be really aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, even people now, I've heard from dyers that will say, these popular designers have come out with, let's say, several DK weight designs, and I didn't know. So
ahead of time, so.
Yeah, so now I'm suddenly having to dye up all this DK to support that.
Yeah.
So you really have to be in the know.
You have to be in the know. But now I think it's even more different now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's just being in the know. I think it's like who you can get along with.
Well, there has been some duress lately in the knitting community. That's true.
I mean, it's a real minefield right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about it or not talk about it. Obviously we aren't going to name names or anything, but it's definitely, it's who you know is what kind of, it's sort of like if someone hires you to do something, it's because they want to work with you. They want to be with you. They want to spend time with you. So it's all about the designers and the indie dyers and the shop owners. We're all trying to get along, or we're not. I mean, and so some wheels are greased and some aren't.
Yeah. So talk about the shop from Ravelry to closing it down.
Well, I didn't close it. I sold it.
I meant that.
Okay.
Sorry, I used the wrong term.
It's not closed.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm selling it. But before that,
Yeah.
though, I want to talk about Instagram because that's where
Yes. Well, that's what changed a lot of things for me too.
Okay, so let's talk about Instagram next.
Okay. So I was always trying to figure out how to sell more yarn.
I have to take my Snapchat filter off.
Okay,
because
this is
I like your filter,
You
but
do?
I gotta just
Okay.
put mine up
All
because
right.
it's bugging my eyes.
Okay. So I really am always, if you have a brick and mortar store, you understand that it's hard. It's hard, and it's 7 days a week. I was open 7 days a week because I figured if I was closed, I couldn't sell anything. So
Right.
open 7 days a week, and I just was constantly always trying to figure out how to just keep moving the stuff through. Just,
Cash flow.
You know, if it's snowing and no one can go anywhere, or the store is closed, or I wanted just to keep a constant flow going through. So cash flow, right? Without marking it down and getting it out, but actually trying to get as much margin as I can out of my product. So I was talking to one of my friends who lives in Boston, who has a store called The Pretty Poppy, and she started doing these auctions. So she put something up, and you comment below sold and all of that, and you could actually, because people would say, they'd see something, they'd say, God, I just want to buy that right now.
Yeah.
Right? I don't necessarily want to go to the website. I just want to buy that right now.
yeah.
Right, that. And
if you don't live in, your vicinity, your brick and mortar. And,
Right.
and that's something I've heard from people too, is that if your community doesn't have an LYS, you feel stuck, right? So there were a lot of people looking at your Instagram.
yeah,
Including me.
right. Because I was one of the first people to
Yeah.
do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, why can't that work for yarn?
Yeah.
And she said, why can't it? And so I tried it, and it worked. And what it did, though, I was selling as much then there as I was in the store.
Ooh.
And the pressure was to every Thursday to have fresh new stuff, and it just became. And then then I got my website going. So then I had 3 revenue streams going,
Yeah.
which is good. Diversified revenue streams is really good. But it also just, my workload, I became less out there on the sales floor
In your store.
communicating with people and doing the part that I actually really like the best, which is like sitting and hanging and knitting with people. I was spending a lot of time ordering, reordering, juggling deposits for the indie dyers, and juggling how to get product, but also filling my shelves, because the indie dyer would say, well, it's going to be 12 to 14 weeks, and I have to fill my shelves. So do I fill it with big companies that give me terms and dating and all of that, give me time, or do I pay up front to these indie dyers that hold my money? And I was just spending all of this time trying to do that, and I just really started, the gerbil wheel just started going.
Yeah.
And at that time, my daughter was 8, my son is 12, so really in the thick of parenting. And at the same time, this was not last year, but the year before, my dad started dying of leukemia. And it was one of the worst experiences, that I've ever had to deal with, ever.
Yeah.
It was just so intense, and it occupied a lot of emotional energy. And he was saying things to me like, you're spending too much time working, you're not spending enough time with your kids. That's what I want for you. I want you to spend time with your kids. You need to close your store. You shouldn't be doing that. You gotta, now that I'm dying, I know what's important, and that's not, all of that. And I'm like, but Dad, I'm actually now really like going out of the, I'm really starting to make it, and I really don't want to stop. But at the same time, it was just this guilt feeling, like any working mother feels, that you want to work for your own fulfillment and to help the family because you feel it makes you just a more rich person. At the same time, you want to be a great mother and a loving mother and be there for them. So you end up not doing anything well. You know, you feel like you're just torn in a million different. You know, men, I feel like they have, it's, you know, if they focus on their career and they do it, that's very fulfilling to them because they feel like that's how they take care of their kids, right? Mm-hmm. So
I agree. I tend to say you can't have it all.
You can't.
And some people disagree with me, but
no, you can't.
I feel like on the days I'm a really good mom, yeah, maybe I wasn't as good at my job or whatever, and it's I cannot do them both at the same time. It's like work time, mom time. If I try to do them at the same time, it's a disaster. But so this sort of deathbed wish for you from Dad had a big impact on you.
It did.
And you listened.
Well, I always listen to what he says, but I mean, I just felt like he always knew better than me. So, and he also said some things that weren't very nice too, like you have poor judgment, you always have poor judgment. So that put me in a state of, well, so if I make any decision, is that a poor judgment? Is that, if I decide and make a judgment, it's poor. It just gives you nowhere to go. It's just like, so, but I pretty much knew I had to sort of scale back a little bit. Yeah. And I thought, what would give me the most comfort and pleasure? And so I decided that if I could sell my store, all that work wouldn't just be thrown away, you know, that it would continue to...
Yeah, as opposed to closing it.
Right. I had no interest. I don't understand why anybody closes it. And their stores. I mean, I just don't get it. But, because there's always somebody that thinks they can do it better than you. Yeah. So if you're not doing great, they think they can do better, or they, you know, at least all the work you've gotten up to that point. I need to pick my nose for a second.
Here. Do you want a tissue?
No, I just need to pick it.
Okay.
But you don't have to edit any of this.
I love that about you. I'm just gonna press go.
Because this is all being shot through a Snapchat filter. See my mustache, my beard, my full beard.
Snapchat filter.
Anyway, okay, so, and my hair looks the way it does because it's raining out there and my umbrella's broken.
Your hair looks amazing.
And you would think that I would try harder on this day. But anyway, okay, so at the same time, the person that bought my store, she wanted to move back to Roanoke. She had worked for me in high school. She already knew what she was, you know, what it was all about. She wanted to move back. And so she's like, yeah, I'll buy it. And I'm like, okay, let's sell it. And then she wrote me a check and I was gone. I handed her the key and I was gone.
Wow. So when you handed her that key and said, c'est la vie.
Did I feel good about it?
How'd you feel?
I felt great about it. Yeah, because everything I had worked up to that point, it could continue, and I could slip away, and I had some money that I could then do something with.
Yeah.
Again, like I had sold my shoe store, and I had some money that I could open the yarn shop, and then when I sold the yarn shop, I had some money to do the next thing. So, of course, I can never just like not do something.
So what's the next thing?
So the next thing was dyeing yarn.
Okay. And where did you learn to dye yarn?
Well, I went to the Neighborhood Fiber Company in Baltimore and I took a class so that I could get sort of the basic stuff. Like I could figure out like how much, you know, citric acid to put in and get the general idea and see if I could actually do this. Like, could I do this? Would I enjoy doing this? I could stay in the yarn industry, but I would do it on my terms. So, but I still didn't know if I would love doing it like all the time, and I'm not sure I do.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
so what have you learned so far?
So anyway, I took the money and I set up my entire garage. You know, I just did it like full on. I didn't start with one burner and a pot. You know, I got 10 burners, 10 pots. Yeah. You know, I sort of just went for it, and sort of like fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
And again, so I started, okay, I only like neutrals, I only like tonals, so that's what I'm going to dye. So I started dyeing that. And then I was like, I'm so bored, I can't. It was so boring. It was so boring. Even though it's beautiful, it was so boring. So I thought, okay, I'm going to dye some colored ones. And then the more color I put on there, and the more color I put on there, the happier I got. So I started taking it off and liking it. And then I did, just one day I just started adding, I'd add like a first row of colors and then let it set. And then I would just start moving the yarn around. So whenever there was white, I would put more colors on and then let it set.
Yeah.
And then I would just start moving the yarns around some more, and then I would put more colors. And what would happen, there's secondary colors, there's tertiary colors, and they overlap and they make new colors. But if you put them all in at one time, you get like a muddy, like brown. So you have to actually wait until the color has absorbed before you actually can get other colors next to it without muddying it. And so one day I just, played around. I got 30 colors onto a skein of yarn.
Gosh. Is this one of them?
That's a special. Yeah, so I called it the special, and every single one of them ended up being different. So I could set up all 10 of those pots, and I could have 5 skeins in every pot. But every skein that comes out is different. Now that's an artist palette, so that's a different one.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute.
But it's similar. It's just my second best selling. That was it. It has about 30 colors too, but they're all they're mainly speckly instead. So it's kind of there is sort of like a white. There's sort of a white balance there. I don't know if that white balance or whatever.
I can see the difference. I see what you're saying, just with them next to each other. I see what you're saying. Wow.
So, and I realized everybody wanted this because I did an update and I sold over 400 skeins of it. And so I just decided I'm just going to start. I realized that what I was looking for and what fulfilled me the most is to just sort of like, say you have a palette and you have your paints and you just paint. Like, what if a skein of yarn could look like that?
Yeah. It looks like a painting just as the skein.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Like it's almost like you don't want to knit with it because in itself, it's a work of art.
I think so. I think so. I think it's really pretty.
Yeah.
And people really love it. And so I realized that that's fulfilling. So I'm home. So I can clean and do loads of laundry and I can get dinner. Just kidding. Dave does all the dinner.
Lean cuisine.
No, seriously, my husband does all the cooking.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that. So I can do all the things. My son gets home from school at 3:30 and I'm there. So he's not latchkey anymore.
Yes.
And my daughter can come home and her mother is there. And I can just be in the house and there's energy and a life in it instead of everyone leaving in the morning and it's dead and then and I can dye as much or as little as I want.
Yeah.
And the thing is that repeatable colorway thing just doesn't appeal to me either.
No.
Like, I just want to keep doing things that look like this.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm doing.
Now, talk about the name Skein Cocaine.
I just had to think of it. I had, when Ravelry started, I had to think of something, and it rhymed. Skein and cocaine rhymes. So now, but I did think about. I was not super excited about naming my yarn company that though.
Why?
Because I would think it would turn some people off.
Comment below. I don't think so. I mean, I guess so. I guess I see what you mean.
It's not.
When I had a baby, my first baby,
Yeah.
I was in the recovery room and my midwife came in and she said, this baby's head is giving off a chemical that is the same thing as cocaine. So when you're feeling down, you just
smell your
baby's head. And
I believe it.
And
Golden Retriever puppies have a smell too.
And I think what she meant was, yes, cocaine is addictive and can ruin you and your life. But that feeling that whatever people get from using cocaine, I have not tried cocaine, but that feeling, I guess.
I haven't either.
Some people have. But that feeling is that, a similar high from smelling
an endorphin opioid feeling.
Yes. And we get that with yarn, too.
We did that when you breastfeed, you get it too.
Yes. But we knitters also, there's something about it, right? That's why we say yarn fumes.
Yes.
Or when you go to a festival or a shop, you're like having a moment.
So it works. It works okay. And it will turn some people off. But I, in general, can turn some people off. Just in general.
Right. Can't we all?
No, not you.
So talk about some of your more provocative Instagram pictures that you've put up. You want to talk about those?
We can even insert some if you want.
Okay, let's do the one of you on the potty.
Okay.
Here's this one. It's right here.
There it is. I was feeling particularly fit in that picture.
You look good.
I look good there.
You work
That's
out?
what I was talking about. Yeah, I run 5 miles a day. But I told you.
Oh, you didn't say that on camera. I knew that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But remember we were talking, not on camera, but we were saying that like when I felt my sexiest in my late 40s. So that picture was, I don't know, 2 years ago. So I was 50.
Mm-hmm.
So I was 50 there, and I felt gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying, ladies.
Like when you feel it, just
Before menopause, you can just feel like amazing, and then it's all over after that. But
And then what about the picture of you? There's one of you well, you did the Tits Out Collective.
Tits Out Collective, that's this picture here.
That was a little racy as well.
That is, and I got some negative blowback on that one because my boobs were too saggy in that picture.
Oh, really? That was
So
why?
people were concerned that I needed to get breast implants.
What's really? Wow.
And you know who you are.
And then what about the one in
And
your
I'm
sheets?
laying in my bed.
Yeah, that one's pretty sexy.
And that picture, literally, there was no photoshopping in that picture.
You just...
I laid in the bed, told Dave to take a picture of me, and it worked.
And what does Dave feel about you sharing yourself in this way?
Well, he doesn't care. What he does care about is he hates taking the pictures. If I say, okay, I can't take this one myself, you need to take it. He's like, oh, no, God, no.
And he rolls his eyes.
He's because he knows I yell and scream at him, and it's not right! And, that kind of stuff. And so... I think it's Instagram Boyfriend. Have you ever seen that video?
No.
Oh, you should watch it. It's really funny. But
when the boyfriend has to take all the selfies.
yeah, everything is about and I don't do that a lot. But once I started the stories, though, I've had people say you need to get off your phone because you're documenting your life, and it's really ruining my life, basically.
Really?
So.
So tell me about your stories. I saw one of your stories when you were giving a review on something. So do you do that a lot, or what do your stories encompass mostly? The only one I've watched was a review of needles. Maybe that was IGTV.
That was IGTV.
Okay, so that's different.
Yeah.
I still don't know how to do IGTV.
You know? I'll show you how to do it.
Okay. Anyway, but what are your stories about?
Everything. I mean, it's. I talked about my mother. My mother and I have a complicated relationship, and some people have complicated relationships. And my dad had just died. Maybe he'd been dead a year. And, grief sort of comes at you in waves. And so you think you're fine, and then you're not.
Yes.
And then you're fine, and then you're not. And that's kind of something that happens. And my mother and our relationship changed after I saw her in a different way while he was dying. And then I saw her in a different way once he died. So, and we had a different relationship after that.
So you were storying about it.
I was storying about it, and that was sort of my way of sharing myself, and it helped a lot of people, actually. There were a lot of people that I had never had so many people reach out to me and talk to me about it, and said that they were dealing with complicated issues with their parent or a friend even, or whatever, and we did a lot of talking about it. And that's why I feel like people that have depression or anxiety or whatever, it's good to talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody wants to expose themselves that way, but I have no problem talking about my weaknesses or my struggles in life.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I probably overshare in some people's opinions, but I don't
necessarily think you do, because I really don't know anything about your personal life, and I think a lot of people know about mine.
Yeah, maybe that's true, because when I'm here, I'm always asking the questions. But I think before I was on YouTube doing knitting, I would blog about something, and
like your dad.
Yeah, and or I would. What am I trying to say? I guess I would feel like every time I maybe typed about something or Facebooked about something, that was sort of giving some of it away. So because there's a lot of pain there, and then the more you talk about it, for me, the more it feels less painful.
That's how I feel.
So, but not everyone works that way.
No. Mm-hmm. Some people would rather not, it's sort of like, okay, you have a boyfriend or girlfriend and she does something and you tell all your friends, they wronged me this way, and they're all like, we hate him or we hate her, whatever, and then you forgive that person, but your friends don't forgive.
Right.
So if you put it out there, it's out there. And I have since gotten to a point where I can't fight with my mother anymore, and I just smile and say, okay, and she kicks me in the teeth, and I'm like, kick me again, you know, because basically I can't fight anymore. And so, but maybe people don't understand that I've gotten to that point, or they don't, I don't know. What am I trying to say?
Well, I think you're talking about very personal things, but I think what we're both saying is that sometimes putting it out there, you might get a response that is helpful, right? Like people will say, I relate to what you're saying, or what you said about your perspective helped me, and that can just sort of give you the strength to face whatever your adversity is. Yours with your mom, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's what's been interesting about Instagram or any social media, is that we can share and get some positive feedback, and then sometimes we don't. So vulnerable,
right?
And we're just trying to connect.
And there's also people that feel that they know me and they already know everything, and they only know what I want you to know.
Right.
I mean, I don't share everything.
Yeah.
I do share things that are very personal, but there's probably 90% of my life that you don't know what I'm doing.
Mysterious Gina. Back to the yarn. Okay. So what can we expect from Skein Cocaine now? So you're doing updates when you want to, or? Yeah,
pretty much. Like if it's not fun for me, I don't want to do it.
And so is it on the website? Is it on Instagram?
It's on the website. And basically, I noticed that some people, when they do updates, they say, okay, we're having an update at 7. I don't do that. Like, okay, this yarn is dry. Okay, I'm going to just put 20 of the specials up. And so then I just go into stories and say, I've got 20 specials, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
So I don't feel the need to have to like, okay, in 2 days at 8 o'clock p.m., we're going to do this thing.
Yeah.
I just don't.
So you just have to follow you if you want to grab something.
Follow me. Follow me.
And it's just on your website. You're not putting it in stores or anything.
I've got a few people that want it in the store, but it takes me all day to dye this.
Yeah, because you have to wait all those increments, 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
I just burped it again. I don't know why.
Love that.
So I have to let these colors sort of sink in before I can move on to moving it around and manipulating it. And by the time the day is over, I've just basically dyed this one color, as many pots as I have. And to sell it wholesale, it really is, I like the idea of getting it in people's hands, but at the same idea, I just want all of this on my terms.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in proving anything to anybody anymore.
Yeah, you're just doing you.
I'm just doing me, and I'm doing it on my terms, and I like it. And that's the thing about repeatable colorways, that doesn't interest me at all.
Yeah.
And I think if you do wholesale, I think that's what you need to do.
Yeah,
I think you need to have repeatable colorways. So,
okay, 2 more questions. Will you continue to do your podcast?
Well, it got deleted.
What? How?
Well, because when I sold my store, thewoolworkshop.com email got eradicated, and it destroyed the channel. So all of that I had done was gone. But if I start another one, I may start another one. It just
Did you like doing the podcast?
I did.
It was fun to hang out with you guys. I watched it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
And it was a different group of people. It wasn't necessarily the people that were. It's not always the same group of people that do YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. I mean, there's different sort of constituent. I don't know what the word is, but some people liked me more when they saw the podcast. Some people liked me less. Some people, it's so funny. In person, nobody recognizes me ever. They have they have no idea who I am.
Your skin?
I think they expect me to be like younger and wearing like thigh-high boots or something. I don't know.
Funny.
But no one really recognizes me.
I wonder what that means.
I'm an old hag.
Yeah, you're an old hag. That's what it means. You're just an old hag. Exactly what that means.
Well, I'm just an average person, but I have a good, nice Instagram account, and I can take some nice pictures. I think that maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, there can be a disconnect between,
the real person.
I remember I went to my first Blog Her event, and I was
I remember
shocked
those.
because I was like, wait, you don't look like your website.
Was that a Jen Gotch thing?
I don't know who started Blog Her. I don't.
Okay.
But it was in the city, and I was invited to a party once, and I thought, wow, what I thought you were going to look like based on time I spent on your website is not the same
That's
thing.
exactly how it is for me.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
People expect me to not be wearing Birkenstocks.
Yeah. Okay, and then let's talk about what we're wearing, because
Okay.
we did not do that.
Okay, so this is the, Caitlin Hunter's Swan
No,
Show
check.
and my yarn. Yeah, my Donegal tweed DK. And there's 4 colors there.
But are you making this? No.
I better figure out how to replicate.
It's
this green
beautiful.
color is yeah, a lot of people want me to make kits, but I'm just like, okay, you either like it or you like that color, but I'm not making like a variety of colors.
but it was good.
I'm gonna try. Yeah, it was good while it lasted.
Yeah. If enough people email you, maybe you have an Anil Chick weekend.
And then this is the Humulus
Yeah.
sweater by Isabel Kramer,
Yeah.
and I started it like four days ago or whatever, because I wanted to wear it on this channel for this. I wanted to wear it for this. So I did, and this is my, let's see, let me think of a good name for this. Chalkboard, and this is like a minty green color, but how boring is it to dye this? I mean, it's boring as dirt.
Yeah, it's not.
It's
as
not
exciting
that.
as this.
No, it's not.
So it's on her own terms, you guys. You can't get
sorry.
this. You can't get this.
You might be able to. I might do kids. I don't know.
This is one of a kind unless you really, really bug her. So get to it,
If we're
ladies.
friends. If we're friends, I will.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to replicate that green though.
That green
'Cause
is pretty
It's
awesome.
got some, the other ones are easy enough,
But so many people come to dyeing because they just want, that special thing. And look, you've got the skills now.
I got the skills.
So anything else? Any parting words from you, Gina? Miss 52-year-old prophetess?
Well, I'm just going to do this for a while and raise my kids and get them out the door.
Launch those babies.
And then I think I might be done with brick and mortar. I'm not 100% sure.
We'll find out. But for now,
We'll find out.
this is where it's at. Thanks, Gina.
Thanks, Kristy.
Bye.
Bye.